Hey, this is Tamlyn Unscripted, and this is Tamlyn Unscripted. And today, on my first podcast, is Scott Taylor. Now, Scott Taylor has been quite famous in the limelight in the last couple of weeks. And I just wanted to welcome you, Scott. Thanks for being my first guest ever on Tamlyn Unscripted.
I'm honoured and I'm really looking forward to having the conversation with you.
Excellent. Well, Scott, as the words say, unscripted, I will be just, my brain goes different ways and I have like a million tabs open and we'll have a chat about all sorts of things. One of the things I wanted to ask is, when did you start getting interested in getting into like the behavioral side of things and the security stuff? Was that from a little child, or what sparked something like this to get
Yeah,
into?
I suppose from my point of view, growing up didn't have the most positive childhood. And when I was younger, so my mum passed away in my first year of high school. My father remarried, and during that time, it wasn't an incredibly positive family dynamic. So what happened during that time was I started doing as much as I could, doing the right things, but for the wrong reasons. So I started training at the gym 10 times a week. I started reading as many books as I could, doing all these sort of things. And it was to be whatever I could do to be the bestest, fastest, smartest, strongest person like in the room. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was for the right things, but the wrong reasons. And then what happened was, as I evolved, and I think as we age, you start to become other people centered, not self-centered. And
And
met the lady who became my wife and the love of my life, who really changed me. And what happened was then I started to be other people centered with a lot of what I did. And so at that time, then I suppose I wanted to try and give back and share some of the things that I've learned. So I started doing everything in the security, safety, and risk space. And so
okay.
everything that I do from a personal point of view, from a charity, from a work point of view, is all centered around keeping people safe and well. So the logical extension to that was, as I got into security and risk, I started, lecturing and training, doing operational security, was to try and to be the best person I could be in that area, was to identify when people had bad intent. So if there's mass events, how can you tell the people that are there for shoplifting or antisocial crime or terrorism? So that got me into the behavioral space. And from there, I realized I had an affinity for it. And what do they say? Find your ikigai. I found an interest where I've got some skills, but also some hobbies and interests. And then from there, I've just been very fortunate to train with some of the best people around the world. So now it's a large part of what I do.
Yeah, and you've become a major focus as well at the moment. So that's really good. And when you for you to get into something like this, do you feel like that things fell into place as you got older, like in terms of from a business perspective as well? Would you say?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, but the thing is, I'm not going to say it just fell into place, because trying to find, same as earlier in life, I was trying to find the positive role models, and that was very difficult to do. It's the same trying to find people in and around this space, because to understand and to better understand people's behavior, there's a lot of different silos: facial micro expressions, body language, statement of word analysis, then how that ties together for deceptive behavior and a range of other things. And so I needed to source some of the best people to learn with, and all of them are overseas. So even then getting to some of those people, like you're talking about people that are ex-military Department of Defense or ex-behavior unit from FBI. So you've got to build some credibility, show that you're doing these things for the right reason and doing that. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of financial investment. So at times I'm thinking, because I'm doing this as much for interest as well as where I think I can be of benefit. So there was a while there I thought, I'm not sure how this is going to work commercially for me. But then I think, because I was just true to my values, then I started having recruiting firms coming to me saying, I need to tell if people are telling the truth compared to AI. How do I do that? And then security organizations and clients saying, how do we pick people that are going to shoplift before they shoplift? And then with the recent incidents that's occurred, obviously at Bondi and Wakely,
Yeah.
that's obviously got like a whole range of people now talking about some of these things.
Yeah, well, and do you think, based on having social media in your life in the last probably 10 years, has that helped from a credibility point of view and
Yeah,
building that?
it's been a funny journey for me with social media. because there's a bit of disparity there. What I ideally, because of what I do from the security and risk point of view, I do work with open source intelligence and looking at people's digital footprints. So I would ideally like to share a lot less than what I do. But when at times I've been the face of, the chairperson for the women's shelter and other parts, I need to have that public face there. So for me, I'm going to say LinkedIn has been consistent for me. I think I've got about 19,000 people that follow me there, and they're pretty active. And with some of their recent posts for various things, I can get 8, 10, 12,000 impressions there, and I probably get about 20% of my business from LinkedIn referrals.
Oh, wow.
From
And is that from also you putting things out there? Because you were one of the first people that got allowed to actually create videos, live videos, wasn't it, on
yeah,
LinkedIn?
so I did one of the first when I first came out the iteration with LinkedIn Live. So I think that helps, but I think people make some mistakes with LinkedIn. I think that
Mm.
people don't go on social media saying, I want to find a general manager and operations manager. So people still put on LinkedIn who they are, and underneath they'll put general manager wherever. They don't put their skills. People look for skills. You don't open up a phone book, something like, or go through and scroll things to go through and say, hey, I want to find a general manager. You try and find somebody for electrical or plumbing or lawyer or whatever. So I
Yeah.
think changing what I did with my LinkedIn profile to make it more skills based and put some evidence and some testimonials, I think was a big part, because nobody wants to be first. People buy services
Mm.
or items for multiple reasons. And one of those is, I think pride, imitation, gain, and fear. And from an imitation point of view, if they see, so there's some testimonials and recommendations, that carries a lot of weight. The other platforms, Facebook has been relatively personal, and I'm going to say until the
Yeah.
recent married at first sight stuff, I had done nothing with TikTok. So now between Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, I think there's about
You're juggling them
50,000.
all.
So now I'm across all of them, and it's been very, very different. So I did not think TikTok would work for me. I did not think people would be interested in these sort of things. But at peak, that was getting 30 to 40,000 hits per night, and it commercialized. I've got people making course bookings and consulting bookings after seeing a married at first sight behavior profile video.
Yeah. And you did that just on a bit of a fun wave, didn't you, at first? Because TikTok, you didn't have that account really set up properly, and
Yeah.
was that something someone put you up to try the TikTok out, or you just thought, I'll just give this a crack,
No,
whatever?
a bit of both. So the idea for doing some review of Married at First Sight, and I thought, because of popularity, and I thought people, there's some key things about behaviors and connection that people want to know. Everybody wants to know if they can trust the people they're dealing with. We want, it's part of who we are. Sometimes it's for your own safety or for whatever else. We also all want to be liked and better connected. So,
Yeah.
so a new range of the skills, whether it's for influence, increasing likability, were important skills. But the thing was having a method of getting it out. And so when I thought I would do this and just say, look, here's what people are saying, but here's what their body is actually telling, because that's what we do. We look for
Yeah.
what people aren't telling you with their words, but what they're showing you with their behaviors. So I didn't have TikTok, a mix of Lady Jasmine, who I've been doing some work with, who's been great, and Tamara, my EA, both said pretty much within 24 hours of each other, you should do this on TikTok. And my response was, nobody's going to listen to a 51-year-old on TikTok talk about married at first sight. And
Yeah.
so and then when I said for filming, I said, well, what do I need to do? Because I've got a decent studio set up and things here at home. And they said, no, don't do that. Just literally watch an episode, hold your phone up and record. And I've gone, okay, I said before, no one's going to watch. Definitely no one is going to watch me standing in my lounge room holding a phone up. And what happened was I shared the first episode and said, I remember the first episode because there was one of the people on maths, that Tim, and they asked the question, are you over your ex? And he said, oh, I'm 100% definitely over my ex, certainly.
And he used
And
the
as you know from doing some of my training, no
Yes.
congruence with what he was saying with his actions, but then filler words, certainly, definitely. So I said, he's given strong indications he's not over his ex. And as soon as I shared a couple of things like that,
It
TikTok
just
lit
went,
up.
yeah.
So I only started TikTok for there, and
Yeah.
now I've got subscribers and people following me. I'm getting 30 to 40,000 hits per video,
Oh, wow.
250, 300 comments. But
Yeah.
then the second part, when I said, okay, look, people might like it, but it's not going to turn commercial. Then I had people emailing me saying, I was watching your Married at First Sight video, like you're with my partner. Can you adjust this for solicitors firms or for recruitment firms? And so I got course bookings and consulting bookings out of it. So between the
Oh,
different, it's getting used to the fields. How I post and what I share on LinkedIn is very different, obviously, than TikTok.
of course, yeah,
But I think if you're surrounded by some good people that I've got some advice from you, I've got some advice from my
yeah,
EA and others, and Jasmine, who I work with from Clear Partners, that the combination of advice then, that if you can navigate the nuances of each platform, then I think it can be very successful for you.
yeah. And do you think from when you did that first initial TikTok, was there anything you going, oh, I must do hashtags or I must tag these people? How what? Because obviously it needs something to spark it for it
Yeah.
to follow through some trend, whatever it is. What did you do?
Yeah. So I did a very quick skim as to what people like you were doing, and one of the things was that they tagged the show, because obviously people that are interested, so they tag the show or the field of interest. One of the other things I noticed that other people did was they would tag cast members on their shows, and I did not definitely want to do that. Um, Upon saying that, now seeing what's happening is most of those casts, now they've got their accounts back, they're starting to follow me on
Oh,
on
they want to
TikTok.
know the.
So I think I logged on the other day and it said Ben, the travel guy from Maths, and then that Tim Smith, and they're clicking on their profiles, and it's because I wasn't sure if they had seen what I was doing with these behaviour point of view, because I wasn't sure. But then I got a message saying Lucinda, who's the star of the show, was only following 20 people, and you're one of the 20. And I went, I didn't even know that they'd
Whoa.
seen it. So I think the impact, if you get the right messaging or content, and it's I suppose a part of, it's got to be something of benefit to people, because everyone tunes into that, what's in it for them. Um, the bit of novelty and fun for things as well. And I think the fact, probably what I was able to do was to share, here is what I see, here's in plain English, but also here's how you can apply it into your everyday life. And so quick, short tidbits, the same as they say TikTok is short videos. My
Yeah.
videos are sometimes 15, 20 minutes, but there's some short takeaways that people would get some grabs out of that. And I think that's probably what worked. The hashtags I learned after a while from seeing what people were doing. So,
Yeah.
so no, that was a slow process, but I think being novice, just a bit of novelty originally is what got the initial spark.
And I guess people think, oh, just TikTok is just, for younger people. But, for example, for myself, I'll do some TikTok, like look at TikTok stuff with one of my kids. And
Mm,
so that's probably what these everyday people that might be solicitors, I guess, too, that would be doing
yeah,
their own everyday thing. It's not necessarily for their own, specific work account. It's
yeah.
their personal account that's then drawing them into going, hang on, you could work on this side. That's how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and so finding, like I said, the best way for using it, finding and just thinking, where do I get that balance between some of the serious
Mm.
content I want to do, having the novelty. I mean, I've seen videos where you got lawyers and others that are sitting there all doing their famous happy dances and whatever. So I didn't want to get into those trends.
But that doesn't add value, Scott. That doesn't add value. Well, not
No,
your dancing or mine,
but
anyway.
some of the things though, I mean, so what I realized though, when you get to a point, and I didn't realize that I was at that point, is
Mm.
once you've got a large amount of people, larger, that are actively following and engaging. So there was people that I would do these videos and put them up. I'd go then have a shower, come back, and it's got 700 views in the first like 10 minutes. But then a
Oh my
bunch of
God.
comments, and the same people that were doing that. And so literally they'd be saying, I'm not even watching the show now, I'm just watching your feedback. And
Oh, okay.
so what happened then I started to realize some of these people, and this was something I hadn't expected.
Uh,
On Facebook and on TikTok, I had people then saying, you shared this on your video about being present and picking when people have deceptive behavior about some of the things they do, licking lips, touching face, all these other things. I realized that. And so I adjusted a conversation I was having in work or personal life, and this was the outcome. So I underestimated the fact that some of those takeaways, and it might be through a bit of imposter syndrome or whatever,
yeah.
um, the impact for people. So then that's when I had people going on multiple platforms and following me, and then reaching out, and
Mm.
they would share some of their own stories. And the good, I suppose, part
Mm.
of it, I'm hoping, because of how I've shared and how I've communicated, they've felt they've got that safe and supported environment, that if anybody's
Mm.
abusive, whatever, I punt them straight away. You don't allow like you for that as well. But then
Yeah.
I've responded back to like in nearly every single comment on every single video. So there's ones where there's
Wow.
sometimes 150 comments, and I've responded back, because some people have shared some really close things. And I thought, if they're taking the time to do that, then I want to be able to help. That can only happen to a point. I know that, but so far, I suppose not enough people follow me that I could still do that.
I guess it's authenticity too. It shows that you're really
Yeah,
caring. You're not just doing this for a purpose to, shine out there. You're doing it obviously that you want to help people, like you've mentioned earlier on. And so, congratulations on that, because that's a big thing to do it out, get out there, and
yeah,
then you've now just been interviewed on a number of radio stations as well as on TV.
yeah,
How did that feel? Did you feel like, oh my gosh, why are they asking me? You talk about imposter syndrome.
yeah,
You're this cool, confident guy that I know of, but we all have that facade sometimes too. So
yeah.
how did that feel, going and stepping out there and probably a little bit out of your comfort zone, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was obviously terrible, tragic events that occurred at Bondi and then like at Wakely, and I
Yeah.
did not expect how rapid, how the volume of what it would be from the media point of view. So
Mm.
I suppose, luckily before that, I think 2 weeks beforehand, I had because I've been on the Today Show and
Yes.
Sunrise and those things as well. I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to be on TV to talk about deception detection. And so getting used to then going into the studio and going live on TV and going through there. So I suppose I had that one shot at doing that.
Yeah. And you didn't stuff it up. So, so
Well, I think because I stuck to my
yeah.
go-to approach, and I thought that, and you need, part of it is getting over that imposter syndrome. I've always been known for the security, safety, and risk stuff because that's 30 years. And
Yeah.
now I've probably got equally amount of people coming to me about from the behavioural elements. But I can say, with confidence that I've worked very hard to best position myself and study with all these best people, especially over the last 7 years, to be best positioned to do that now. So I'm confident in being able to say that I believe I'm the best person in Australia to talk about the combination with behaviour, security, and risk. I can say that comfortably. But what I didn't expect was, as soon as it came out and then I did the first interview about Bondi and being on site, then because I uniquely talked about some of the behavioural elements with security, so not just about what we can do with active armed offenders, I was talking about he was having conscious victim selection. He was showing these behaviours, these elements, and nobody was talking about some of those things. So what happened was then all of the networks got a hold of that. So over the space of that and Wakely, I think it ended up being 22 TV interviews, about 15 radio interviews, and 6 print, including ABC and Telegraph and a range of other things. So I didn't expect like that as well. But I mean, if the content that I shared has been of value and benefit, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, lessons learned from that, I ran myself into the ground there because I was doing everything I needed to for my clients and balancing everything on top of having that. And the media by itself was a full-time job there. So
You
I
don't get
did not.
paid for that either. So, but you
No,
were
I did.
willing to do it because of the circumstances, probably too. So,
Yeah. And so some of the things, I mean, there was ones when I was there at Bondi that I think I did Sky News, ABC, SBS, Channel 7. There was a mix there, Channel 7 News and others like they're all at the same, and Channel 10 all at the same time. But in between those, because I was in that area there, I suppose in the media type area, I was having conversations with people that were turning up for the first time since the incident, and I was seeing their behaviours and see it physically reconcile, seeing it hit them, you know what I mean? When they thought, I've heard this on the news, but I'm on site and I'm seeing the crime scene tape. Now this is real. So in between those, I suppose had the opportunity that I could have some conversations with people and help them feel calmer and work through that and even start the process of feeling safe again. So I'm grateful for the opportunity if I can be of benefit for doing those. And I'm grateful if that, doing some of these things and then doing Jones and Amanda and sharing some security and safety tips. If people have got some more awareness or whatever for what I've been able to share, then I'm really happy for that. But it was a lot to go from just getting used to TV to that amount in that short a
like,
period.
yeah,
That short a period of time. And you become self-critical. So you
yeah.
look and then, how's my speaking cadence? How's my inflections? What my gestures like? Am I doing these sort of things? So aside from, I think, one interview, I was happy that I presented myself and got across what I wanted to. Out of all of those, there was only one I probably wasn't happy because I was sick the whole time. I just kept that under wraps. So I was smashing the sinus and
It's just
spraying all those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of like you talk about it's affected people, like for example, so a family member of mine, my son, 16,
Yeah.
he is starting to go out with his mates now. And for me, he's not worried, but for me, I go, okay, when you're sitting on that train, look around, make sure your bag's next to you, see what's happened. Like I've been doing that more now because of what's happened.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Mum, if anything happens, I'll move. I'm like, yeah, but you're not prepared. How can, is there something out there that, maybe some tips out there, especially if the young kids are on TikTok or mainly I think YouTube shorts as well
Yeah.
at the moment. But is there something out there that maybe can help kids that realize they're not invincible? Because we all think we are. Like I thought I was when I was 18, 20. But just being more aware of what's going on out there when they're out with their mates.
Yeah, I mean, from the awareness point of view, that's the hard one in these type of circumstances because, and having seen some additional footage on mobile devices and others that probably hasn't really come to air yet, with some of the other things that occurred there at Bono, is there was circumstances there where kids are walking with their parents and the kids were aware first because the parents might have headphones in and they've got 2 noise cancelling headphones in and they're device centric. I mean, we are so device centric at times. We're so device centric that in parts of Korea, Canada, and Denmark, they've got text while walking lanes because people have been getting injured while they're walking on their phones. That's how unaware we are. And so the thing is just the difference of saying, so if you think about that Westfield circumstance, if you're walking around, regardless of how good their auditory systems were for announcements and they changed their billboards for signage, if you're walking around with your head looking at your device and audio blocking headphones, you're not going to hear people calling out, look behind you, what's going on. And so that's the thing, I think, from an awareness point of view. So I'm not saying being fearful, but just being aware. That gives you that sense of calm.
Well, that's true. So definitely I'll tell them about the headphone side of things.
Sure.
Because they all do it, don't they? So
cool.
Yeah. And in terms of so moving forward, I accidentally nearly subscribed to your Facebook. So you've got a few subscription things happening. Is that leveraging what's going on at the moment? You're like, well, I do have valuable information, and you've got subscription for Facebook. Is that different to the TikTok and what's your, like, have you got a business model that you're thinking of, strategy around this? How does that work?
So what it was is that I'm mindful of the time and also what people want. And the thing is, with doing so much general things, I've had people that were just out of the blue jumping and do a live about how to prepare for an interview, and 60, 70 people jump on with questions and doing things. So what I realized, because it's quite broad what some people want, I've got people that will reach out, and I think I did an article with Jana Hocking recently about, from a dating point of view, how can you show that people like you, what physiological tells and things in there. So because there's such broadness with that stuff, I thought I'll test this out. No, like a small amount for these things. So I think the TikTok one is like $6 a month, and like it's nothing. But out of that, when I'm doing some of these conferences and meetings, I will do here's what we're talking about, here's some additional content, so I can drill down a bit more. The other thing with the subscriptions, I suppose, compared to more public and just posting things, is I can delve a bit deeper and be a bit more open. So what I mean by that, I've just shared a video about Donald Trump's behaviors.
I did see that.
I
watched that one this morning.
He's got a lot of behavioural tells. So, but the thing is, where I can share things because of current cases, like Aaron Patterson, for example, like the mushroom, the Wellington dinner, I wouldn't share a lot of those in public posts, but in confined groups and other parts where I can control who's seeing that and what I'm sharing, I'll say, here's some of the behavioural tells, here's some of the words that she said and the actions that she took. So we had some indication of her behaviour. So I'll share things like that, Bruce Lerman, Brittany Higgins, those sort of things. I can delve more into that. So it was more about having that environment, continuing that safe environment where people could ask some direct questions, because from the subscription element, like I said, a McDonald's Happy Meal or whatever it works out to, less than that per week.
Pretty much.
People have reached out and said, I've got this meeting coming with a solicitor, I've got this coming up from with work, and I've been able to respond and say, here's some of the things to look for. So So it's trying to make that a value. So I'm still navigating my way through there. I haven't done that with a plan. If anything, I've probably done the opposite to what people have said. Some have said, because everything boomed, I mean, I think as soon as I did the Today Show and Sunrise and then the Jonesy and Amanda stuff,
Yeah.
I think I had an extra 4,000 or 5,000 people in Instagram within about 24 hours. And then more on TikTok and like another 700 or 800 like on Facebook or something. And they're saying, so where's this going? Like, what are you launching? What courses are you selling and doing these sort of things? And you'll see, aside from me saying about doing this subscription for $5 or $6, I haven't done anything because that hasn't been a solid part of commercial plan. Let's get people in hooked and then drop these things.
Yeah.
There will be some outcome of that, but that will be the byproduct, because I've got people saying to me now, can you run something on deception detection? Can you run something on how I can speak more confident? So the result of the feedback from people as I'm doing it will be there were some of those things, but I haven't gone into it with that, because otherwise I would have managed it differently. I would have said, while all these people are, hey, here's what I've got to offer, click here and do these sort of things. And I haven't managed it that way. So
So
from a
maybe
commercial
that
point of
when,
view, sorry?
yeah, I was going to say maybe it's more authentic that way too, really, because then
Yeah.
you've honestly done it on an organic approach. You
Yeah.
know, and maybe it's probably been more successful because of that. Do you think?
Yeah, I also think compared to what I thought, it was very different than what I thought. And what I mean by that, I was expecting for me to have some impact. It's not just about the content or the thoughts that I wanted to share, but I need to do it with my good lighting going and the good sound and whatever. And what I've realized now, which is not what I expected, I get more response, more open responses from people when I've literally just picked up my phone, wearing whatever I'm wearing, doesn't matter the lighting, and just gone, here's my thoughts like on this at the moment now. I'm sharing, like, are you with you? You mightn't agree with me, but here's my position. Let's talk about it. And that's probably what's been most successful for me. So least effort and most successful, just being genuine and authentic, but not placing an over amount of effort on it, just being calm and present with myself. The hardest part is knowing that you've got things to share that are of value to people. Because I think some people, if you go into it with straight commercial mindset and then try and reverse engineer it, what do I need to look and sound like to do that? That's going to be difficult. You need to have some self-awareness and confidence that you've got some things that are going to be of value and benefit to share, and then work the other way, like a year forward then, and say, I'm going to be sharing that. And I've been open on the videos. Hey guys, first time I did TikTok and they said about TikTok Live, there's going to be people that listen to your stuff because of what you do and that are educated on these sort of things. So this is where they're going to laugh at me. I had no idea when I'm hitting the button for TikTok Live that people would be sending diamonds and gifts and whatever and all these things that they do. And so they will do things that they'll turn around and all of a sudden you'll get something that will be, I don't know, someone did something and as I'm talking on the screen, I see a funny hat come on top of my head or something. I'm going,
What?
And so you'll see a post such and such has sent you a couple of diamonds and then whatever. And I'm going, look, so as I'm live in the video, I'm saying, guys, I'm still learning the tech here. Oh, I've got comments. Hang on. And I'm swiping. And I think probably even from that point of view is that don't go into it pretending that you know everything, and then, be honest and authentic. So there was times that as these things are happening and people are doing things, I'm saying, I don't know how I got this funny hat, but whoever sent that, thank you. And because of my response, people could see they were very, very
genuine.
So, I mean, so that's the thing. It's different what I'll share on LinkedIn because it's a different network in there. And so compared to the 53 or 54,000 people on Instagram, that or Facebook, I'll be open a bit more relaxed with. LinkedIn, it's a different group that I have there. And a lot of people there are, I'm going to say, decision makers that are in and around my space and more selective with their content. So I think it goes back to what I said earlier, just knowing the space, being authentic, but just knowing what sort of content they're after on that platform, I think is important.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And so, I mean, it's really just you and you've got a couple of other people helping you out in the background.
Yeah.
So you're juggling all that stuff. Like you'll have to plan a holiday soon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose, they say if you find something that where you can be of benefit, it's aligned with your hobbies and passion, like you've got these sort of things and you get paid for it, doesn't feel like work. So
That's true.
during the last couple of weeks, I've very much had that. I've had situations where there's some days that I've done 14 and 16 hour days, and it's been up doing some client work and other things at 4 and 5 in the morning because I've got 5 or 6 media interviews occurring at different times of the day.
Yeah.
But I've sat back at the end of the day and had feedback saying the team are feeling safe now. They're feeling a little bit more confident, whether it's the active armed defender training or conflict training or just behavioral awareness training. And so from that point of view, that's probably the other thing that people do, especially if they're in their own business. And I know I've mentioned this to you before as well, like about reflective practice, stopping and thinking about what impact am I having, what does that look like? Am I aligned with my vision and values, and then adjusting your path with that. And I think that's something I consciously do every day. Every single day have elements of reflective practice where I stop and think, what's the path I'm on now? Is this where I can be of best use? All those sort of things. So that's a key part, I think, of why I've been able to be sustainable with what I'm doing.
That's good. And do you see a book? There's got to be a book or something. Like they.
I'm halfway through.
Down the track. What's that?
I'm halfway through writing one. So because of it's unique with what I do, and I'm mindful of how much I can and can't say with this, but with some organizations, I do behavior-based penetration testing. So if they think they're safe and secure, I would spend some time assessing their site, assessing their people, bumping them off site with a conversation and using a mix of elicitation, non-verbals, verbal techniques to get information about the site. And then I sneak my way in. And so people don't realize the amount of content they share on the digital footprint. They say, I don't share my birthday, but of course you do, because you've got in your gallery photos of you sitting around with in front of the birthday cake with those dates. You don't share your passwords, but you've got your birth date from there, and you've got pictures of your cat or dog where people say, how's bingo going? So we can get your passwords. We see the way that you communicate with people on a short video where you're doing this type of head tilt and this gestures. So I know that, how you use pronouns. So the book I'm writing is called Before the First Handshake, and it's about how to build trust, rapport, and likability before you're even sitting across the table from somebody, using some of those elements, and then how to carry that forward.
So that would be for anyone. You could use it for anyone, this book. So this could be from someone from like early 20s onwards to be able to use it.
Or even younger, because if you think now, teenagers are communicating via messenger app, and it's, they're showing their friends, does this sound right? Does this sound like me? And so enhancing people's awareness. Some people want it just for comfort. If I know a little bit more about you, I want to be a bit more relaxed. Some maybe from a commercial point of view, I need this business or this person to trust me. How do I put the best version of myself forward? And how do I assess that as I'm speaking to them to see if this is hitting or resonating the right way? So yeah, it's being my first book. Obviously, I'm putting a lot into it, and just because of the current amount of things that are on, it's taken longer than expected. But also, I have, similar to some of the things that you do, Tam, so that analysis paralysis, but I call it perfectionist analysis paralysis, where sometimes
procrastination.
It's perfection analysis paralysis, and so it's literally that whilst you could be getting some things through that will still be of impact, you think, oh, but what if I add, and how about if I change this? And so that takes additional time. So that's what I'm going to.
Well, that's the same with this podcast. Wait, how long has this taken me to do?
A little while.
Yeah, a little while. With your persistence, it's been really good from my perspective. So, in terms of like anyone thinking about doing a podcast, and like myself, it can be daunting, but I haven't written a script. This has come from my heart of what I want to ask, and I'm an inquisitive person, and that's what I tend to do with any clients or anyone I meet. I can't help it. It's like you want to know about them before you date, type of thing. So how, you've put me in the right direction in terms of, platform and stuff, but in terms of, breathe, be okay about it, just do it type of thing. You be yourself. Yeah. So is there anything else you would give as a tip to anyone that's thinking of doing it as a podcast?
I think find your why is very, very important. So if there's a certain element that I think there's not enough content getting shared around this area or this type of approach, I think is an important part, just to find your why you're doing that first, because it takes time, commitment, and effort getting these things together, the tech, the software, the editing. The podcast episodes that I've done, I've literally done and just put up. I haven't done any editing with. I've just added my opening thing at the start, similar to what I'm doing with TikToks. But for me, for example, I set up 2 podcasts, one being securely speaking, and then the other one being the power of safe. We're just wanting to talk about how important it is for people to feel safe in personal and professional life. You can't progress along to self-actualization and the best version of yourself if you don't feel safe. So what does that look like for everybody and the different roles that we have with that? I think from the podcast point of view is, find out your why first. It's okay to have situations where there's a bit of a stall or getting asked questions that you don't know, because as long as it's sparked by that curiosity, me saying that's a great question, Tam, I haven't thought of that. You've really inspired me now to go and find this out, learn more about it, and be able to come back with you. So thank you. So thank you for getting me in a situation where I'd say I don't know. Being comfortable with things like that is the other part, knowing that people want you to win. So it's okay to have that time where you stop and lose track of your thought or recenter yourself, but saying to people, this is important to me. I want to get this right. I want this to be of value. Hey, I'm just learning the tech with TikTok and the app, all these sort of things.
Like that.
As long as you're authentic and genuine, then people want you to win. I think that's the biggest thing. Find your why and then just be genuine to yourself. Be kind to yourself.
It is, and everyone needs to be kind to themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and I guess if you're happy to be on another time, I'm sure I've got more questions to ask. I know you're really, really busy at the moment, and I'll be having to pay for your autographs soon.
No, it's not like that. But yeah, of course, I'm happy to be on. Like, I mean, it's a good, genuine conversation. The thing is, you started the best way. The best way to get people relaxed and to get a bit of a feel for them and what's front of their head and heart is say, let's talk about your journey to now, what you go into this, or and you did that flawlessly. So you've done well. So back yourself with this sort of stuff.
Thank you.
The next thing for you is going to be the delay between now and getting it out, because you could set
I get excited about these things. It'll be like my first priority.
Well, I'm honored
now recorded and said that.
I'm honored to have been first, and I'm always happy to come back and have a chat. Or same thing, if there's a people you get on that you want me to help with an interview point of view, if there's some ones that you really want to delve into, I'm happy to do some forensic interviewing with some people that you get on.
That'll be good. Actually, now anything that I did, like I was thinking, he's probably thinking of all the things I do this. Anything that you noticed?
The thing is, you're being genuine to yourself. We could talk about it before you started hit recording about.
Oh my gosh, we talk about before.
Sam, this is about being genuine and authentic. So you're not going to share about the fact that your camera wasn't plugged in like before. Okay, we won't do that. Then you can edit that out. That's all part of it. Getting used to these sort of things. There are so many things going on at the same time. Doing a podcast, even if you're relaxed, is a commitment. And the first couple of episodes, I think, are the best and most fun, because you make some of these errors and work through. I had one where I was doing a Riverside interview and I had my sound off, and the other person I'm interviewing is going, "Oh, it must be me," and it was me the whole time, even though I'd set the interview up. So those things are going to happen. Just enjoy the experience. They give you something. Yeah. So when you're doing your 50th episode, you've got something to look back and compare to.
Okay, look what I did before.
Cool. Like I said, just back yourself with this now. What I'll be doing now is, while this is fresh of mind, as soon as we finish this, get a piece of paper and email out and say, here's the next 10 people I want to interview and why. This person because of who they are in your organization. This person because they inspire me, whatever. Get that down. And then
I've actually got about 50 listed. But I will prioritize which ones.
and think big. Like I said, the first 3 people out of my podcast, because I've done Power of Safe and obviously the speaking one. I had Robin Dreek, so the former head of the behavior unit of the FBI. I had Lena Cisco, who was the former interrogator from Guantanamo Bay. Wow. They were the first people. Then I had Annabelle Daniel, the CEO of Women's Community Shelters, talking about the impact that she has there across the shelter network in keeping women safe and well. So think big. You'll have people in there as well, but if you're being genuine,
I'll tell you now, Scott. Hang on 2 seconds. Where's my list? It's here. It's huge. And I've got some big ones on here, like seriously big ones.
Good.
So I need to find the list. Here we go. Okay. Don't laugh at me. Hang on, there's a couple of big ones. Ian Laughter's one I wanted to actually interview.
Okay.
Ian Luff is
Does the driving.
he uses the advanced driving, but he actually took my team one Christmas party,
Okay.
and we did a whole team thing. But he was hilarious, and he's got a lot to share.
But think different angles though with that, like your team. So in other words, get the list of people.
I'm getting in the car with him and we'll do a podcast.
But even think about that. It's easy to talk about skills. Another part, say, and you've been doing this for a while now, and I'd love to speak about something you probably don't talk about as much. You must have people that come in here that are fearful. How do you make them feel calm before you take them out for that? I'd love to see your methodology for that. And that will be something that people haven't spoken about. So because you're interested in elements of the behavior and people's change and growth, think different angles, like everything. So in other words, the people that you have on your list, there's the things that they're known for, their attributes. Their
I want to go completely left field, man.
Yeah, good. Perfect. then this podcast will be great. That's what people want.
Yeah, I'll ask questions that are probably Mel Robbins. Have you heard of Mel Robbins?
Oh yeah, 100%. Very much so.
That's one I wanted.
Mel Robbins. I can say, Lee and I did at the end of before the start of this year. Mel Robbins put out a sheet for some family goal setting, and it was a 8-page sort of checklist that talks about who you are, where you want to be, and some self-assessment. We sat down and did it together, sitting out the back here, and it was really, really powerful. So if you speak to Mel Robbins for things, you can say she's somebody who has that impact on so many people's lives.
Absolutely, I love listening to her. I mean, there's heaps out here. I've got some like big names on here, like Australian names, and I'll go big or go home, isn't it?
That's it. So you can cut your teeth on some low to the ground people like me, and then go for the heights.
That's right. No, cool. Thanks for that, Scott. Thanks for being my first one on the podcast, Tamlyn Unscripted, and thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dan.
No worries. So do we just stop?
Stop recording.